Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of PitchUs. Super excited to have another forecaster guest, celebrity guest with us today, as well as Adam with Sway. My name is Tim Cooley. I am the author of the Pitch Deck book. Jeff, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, good to be here again. My name is Jeff Erickson. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Forecaster. We make financial modeling easy for founders. I'm also an active angel investor and love working with startups. I'm excited to have my colleague and friend, George Mungia, who is also with Forecaster as of a couple weeks ago. Join us as a celebrity guest on this episode of PitchUs. So, George, you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Hey, thanks for having me. Like Jeff said, super excited to be here. Thank you, Tim, for having me, and Adam, we're excited to have you on. Yeah, like Jeff said, I'm also over at Partnerships, and I'm a manager of strategic partnerships over at Forecaster. Previously, I've helped over 1,200 startups raise capital and worked with over 500 VC firms and angels, and I've personally raised a few $1 million for some other startups as well. So I've looked at a ton of pitch decks, and yeah, I'm super excited. I love working with founders, as previous founder myself. So cannot be more excited to see what Adam has for us today. So Adam, we're excited to hear what you have. If you want to pull up that deck, man, and kind of share your screen with us and walk us through real quick what you have, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you all for having me on. Really excited to be here. Excited to share what we're working on over here at Sway. Can you all see my screen okay?
Yep.
Alrighty. So, hi, I'm Adam Goldstein, founder and CEO of Sway. And today I'm going to share with you how we over here at Sway are curing isolation, loneliness, and most importantly, retail vacancies through our design systems, programming, and overall presence in local communities. There are two main problems that we're focusing on: vacant ground floor retail, which is a growing problem in near urban communities, and main streets across America, and the isolation that remote workers are feeling now that hybrid work, fully remote work, is a mainstay in everybody's work life. Our solution is simple. Sway creates multi-use community spaces in vacant ground floor retail on main streets in your communities. And these are spaces that transform throughout the day. So we take these spaces, we plug in our programming and our design system, and we operate them so that we can perform workspace throughout the co-working throughout the workday, wellness classes both on the morning and in the evening, and then run our own curated event schedule throughout the week and rent our space out to both private and corporate events alike. So how this works is simple. First, we find finished ground floor vacancies in near urban communities. We seek out dense pockets of remote workers, folks who used to be going to the office every day who now don't have to. And we really focus on finding these spaces that have everything that is needed already within it. So flooring, plumbing, electrical. We walk into these spaces and we see opportunity. We partner with these landlords of these spaces and form management agreements where we're able to share revenues with them and lower their vacancy and our overhead and time to entry. We activate these spaces using our modular design system. We're able to open up spaces within a matter of 5 business days. Again, we really focus on purchasing assets over building out space. Could go into a lot of detail here, but the average build out usually takes about 3 to 6 months and usually costs anywhere between $100 and $200 a square foot. We're able to operate at a fraction of that simply by leveraging what's already there and focusing on adaptive reuse. Next, we activate the space. So we sell co-working memberships, wellness memberships. We host our own events. We rent out the space to private parties and corporates alike. And we also partner with local businesses to cross-sell their products and services within our space and overall strengthen the hyper-local community environment that surrounds us. And lastly, our technology is the sweet spot. So users are able to leverage our technology to not only find out about the space and become aware of it, but also create their own account, sign up for memberships, gain access to the space, utilize the space while they're in it, and connect with everybody within the community around them. And draw your attention over to the bottom right hand portion of the screen here. This is a typical day here at Sway. We start out with a yoga class, we change over the space, work throughout the day, and then we host 2 to 3 events each night. And this is pretty typical and something that we're able to replicate time and time again through our modular design. The market opportunity here is immense. Sway is operating at the intersection of the co-working and events market. These are massive opportunities that are growing rapidly in a post-pandemic era. And really the drivers for this growth are folks looking to optimize their costs. So companies downsizing their office footprint and looking for unique and creative ways to get their employees the proper workspace that they need. Folks are also still craving that in-person connection and really wanting near home options. And we're targeting hybrid workers and entrepreneurs in these near urban communities. And we're starting out really just in the East Bay of San Francisco, where we're currently located. Our business model is pretty straightforward currently. We sell memberships and access to the space that we own. So workspace memberships, wellness memberships, and then event rentals. We have add-ons and cross-selling opportunities for all these revenue streams. But we're really looking towards the future. And what the future holds is we take this model, we package up our operations and our technology, and we sell it to landlords, franchisees, and ultimately event planners. And what this looks like is we go to landlords, we partner with them, we sell them the Sway brand, we sell them the Sway operations, and we also conduct a revenue sharing structure with them. For franchisees, these are entrepreneurs who want to own their own business. They can take the Sway brand, they could take just the operational technology playbook and slap their own branding on it and really run with it. And then lastly, the platform fee. So what does it look like for Sway to operate spaces that we don't own and go into, say, a coffee shop and help them optimize their footprint to revenue generate in creative and different ways than they're used to. And these are where we see a great amount of opportunity to operate in that event space. So what have we done so far? We launched our flagship location here in Berkeley, California in 2022. We generated over $125,000 of revenue. We saw a realized blended customer acquisition cost of just over $100 and an LTV of over $1,000. So 10x multiple on our acquisition cost to our LTV. We've also engaged a really deep community of folks in the nearby area. And we were talking a little bit before the show started about the change from our previous brand of Work Bistro to our new brand of Sway. And what we've been able to do with that is not just engage people who are in the mindset of work, but engage people in a variety of different contexts of their life. And so the hybrid worker, the remote worker who maybe they have a really great home setup, we can still engage with them and invite them into our wellness classes or to our twice monthly concerts. We can engage people who might not have a remote job at all, but live in the community, want to engage with the community. We really see ourselves as a community space that offers co-working and offers events. And so we're able to address a really broad variety of users across our different programming. Our go-to-market strategy, as I was talking about right now, we own and operate our spaces in California. We're building our team and our technology and also some landlord partnerships. We're in talks with a few landlords regarding spaces 2 and 3. In 2024, really starting to focus our sites upstream, beginning B2B to C membership sales. So what does it look like for us to go to Salesforce and sell them a membership for all of their East Bay employees? Begin starting the conversations around franchising and what does it look like for somebody in Dayton, Ohio to take the Sway brand and operations package and plug it into a space that they own or is nearby. And then lastly, launching these landlord partnerships. We're in talks with a few California regional landlords, and those are folks who one partnership can put us into 20, 30 portfolio locations. And lastly, as we look to 2025, really launching those franchise operations, growing those landlord partnerships, and eventually launching this events platform. What I'd like to focus on with regards to competition is really our local engagement. We focus on scaling at the local level, and from the way that we approach our SEO and our marketing to the way that we actually engage with the people themselves. These are things that other companies who have started a while ago and are much larger now have kind of lost sight of, and something that we see as a real differentiator and one of our moats. Partnering with local businesses, restaurants, retailers, creators, artists, giving us that brand equity in the local community that people can attach to, rather than just being a faceless brand or space operator. Looking at our financials, we see some real growth starting as we ramp up those landlord and franchising partnerships in year 3 and on. And what I'd like to really focus on is how we're able to scale spaces really efficiently and effectively, and not growing at all costs like some previous competitors have done. So looking at the team, I'm Adam Goldstein, founder and CEO. I've been building spaces and startups for the past 6 years, most recently with Branch, where I was the first hire on their operations team. Built that company with the founding team from, it was just 4 of us to now it's 60 employees and a $70 million operation a year. Before that, I was at WeWork via an acquisition managed by Q. I'm joined by a great cast of talent here. Gabe, who's our head of product, who has been building technology applications for startups for the past 4 years. Robbie, who comes from high-end hotel hospitality management. Margaret, Larkin, Jen, and Ashan, who are all on our product team and are really doing a great job in helping us build our tech product. And then our advisory board, Greg, who is the CEO at Branch. He's giving a lot of help in how do we scale what we're currently doing? How do we really deeply connect with our customer base? And Manuel, who's a former CTO at IWG. He's recently come on as an advisor, and IWG is the conglomerate for brands like Regis and Spaces, so big co-working conglomerate. He was the former CTO and is really helping us think through what does our tech strategy look like on day one and in 3 years from now. And Jason and Lance come from a background in architecture and design. They really round out the skill set that we need on our advisory board. Looking to our ask, we're raising a seed round right now of $1 million, and this is to build our team and execute on our go-to-market strategy. The key results that we're going to generate from this, $250,000 in quarterly revenue in the 4th quarter of this year, We're looking to have 300 members in the first quarter of 2024, and really where this this investment is going is towards our ops and tech readiness, so that we can launch those landlord partnerships and franchising partnerships as we head into 2025. That's it for me. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome.
Great job.
Yeah, great job, Adam.
Thank you.
So yeah, seriously, great job. We'll just get into it. One of the places we like to start is the things that we liked. So George, kick us off. What did you like about the presentation?
Yeah, I got some notes. I love it, man. Very cool concept. I think also love seeing that traction too. You know, a lot of the times we don't really get to see a lot of that stuff. So cool to see you guys are in that 6-figure mark. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love the how it works slide. I think kind of like coming up to it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of seeing where this is going, but really given kind of the flow of what a normal day would look like at Sway, I thought was really, really good, at least from kind of like a user standpoint, right, of how it operates. The business model side of things, I think you explained it really well, kind of breaking down the B2B and B2C side. I'd say those numerics are pretty competitive compared to like what WeWork is, as well as compared to what Industrious is. I know those guys are $300 a month, $500 a month. So you're kind of offering something a little bit more competitive there. The market size, it looked like you were kind of doing a bottom-up strategy there, and that's just music to my ears. I love to see that. And then blended CAC plus LTV. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, like that was just like made me so warm and happy inside to see like you're doing 103, I think it was, for that customer acquisition cost, and then you're really getting that lifetime value for, I think it was like $1,017 or something like that. And then I thought you did really well expanding on the advisor's background, kind of playing into what it looked like for your guys' whole team, to especially just the advisors kind of on that side of things. Was you gave kind of their credibility as to why you guys should be trusting them to help build out. So yeah, I'll hand it off to you guys to give some more feedback.
All right. Yeah, I agree.
We may have lost Jeff. Did he freeze for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take over then. We'll see if he comes back.
It's either he's freezing or he's just posing.
Yeah,
like
I'll
that.
remove him for a sec. That was weird. Yeah, so things that I really liked about it. You're a great presenter. I think we can help just in some minor areas in getting this thing dialed. Clearly, I love your background in this space. I'm actually very familiar with this space as well. Jeff does a lot of work in these things. I'm actually in a spaces right now, and I ran an accelerator, so I totally understand the co-working space as a business model. So, and I was literally just having this conversation with somebody on LinkedIn yesterday. So, very excited for this idea. We'll bring Jeff back. It looks like he's back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You froze there for a sec. But yeah, no, great team slide. I love the way that was laid out. You clearly have all those areas, and I like that you're already at revenue. So, great job on a lot of those things. Jeff, let's hear your feedback this time.
Okay, I don't know where I cut off, but I was gonna say I agree with a lot of things that George was saying. Overall, I thought you did a great job on the presentation. The deck looks really nice, and you got some good graphics, and the look and feel was really good. I think there's some things we can improve. Like these guys both said, I thought the team slide was really solid. You've got a great team that you've built, and I think that's super important, at this stage. And then, the fact that you've got some traction, and you've got some experience in the space, you and your team, which I think all those things bode really well for you. So lots of good stuff going for you. I really like the idea and the concept. I think it's something people can easily, grasp and see what the problem is. And I like your solution.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's go to areas of opportunity. George, kick us off.
Yeah. Areas of opportunity. I thought from someone who maybe is not like Tim or Jeff and has worked a ton kind of in the co-working space, I've worked in a ton of different areas, but the like true problem of like, okay, really what are like the pain points that some of these guys are facing? And then also kind of like where you are a mass differentiator comparatively to like an Industrious or a WeWork. Just expanding on that would have like helped me a ton, just kind of like for somebody that may be more industry agnostic investor, right? And then I think expanding on that GTM strategy specifically for landlords would be huge. Just to kind of say, okay, this is really how I plan on getting them. This is how, because that seems like that'd be a massive revenue that you could hit. And then competitive advantage. I liked that slide a lot. You had a lot of stuff there, but kind of again, the just what are those like really big pain points that like sway comparatively, just like really honing in on it of, man, this is what we do and this is how we crush it. And then personally, I just financy nitpicky is I would love to know personally just the weighted average of the monthly rev share, because I was doing some math on it in my head, right? And it comes out to, I think, like $96,070 some dollars for what you guys are a weighted average of. So then I was like, okay, how many landlords do they have signed on? Is this memberships, right? So it's like kind of maybe clarifying that a little bit. And then just one last thing is expanding on all of your team, right? I thought you did such a good job expanding on yourself and some of the advisors, but if it was like anybody has any like product background, right? If they worked at like a Adobe, right? I'd be like, oh man, like, okay, sweet. And I kind of see that logo. And then just add in that number on the ask slide, the asking 1 million, just so it's super clear for investors. If they're looking back at that deck, they can say, oh, sweet, they're asking 1 million, and that's the allocation of that fund.
Cool. Thank you.
Good points. Great points, George. I'm going to echo one of the things that George mentioned, and that's the problem. So even though I got a lot of the problem, I think you could have spent a little more time on the problem initially, and maybe even shared a story of here's what your typical person goes through, and here's the issue that they're facing before you jump into the solution. And so I think that's where George was hitting as well, is that even though I got it, I wanted to understand the problem a little bit more and dive in a little bit deeper, and then I would be ready to hear. Let's hear your solution. The other thing, I actually liked the way you introed it and said, "Here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to talk about how we're going to solve this, this issue today." I think one thing that would be impactful at the beginning is mentioning your experience with WeWork. I think that gives you some credibility right out of the gate. That I was actually, when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. That WeWork. And so I would actually like to know that up front, probably, and maybe why you're tackling this. It's like you have some experience, you've seen some of these issues. Maybe that goes into the problem where you can say, hey, I have some experience here. I've seen the problem. I know it. I get it. Here's why I'm qualified to come up with the solution. So some feedback that you may or may not take. The other thing that I noticed, there were several slides where they seemed really busy. And so it was almost distracting. George mentioned how he liked the how it works slide. I really liked what you put in there. It was just almost too much on one slide. And I think you spent a bunch of time on there. You could probably break that into, 2 different slides. Because I think one was you're talking about space activation. You could probably hit that separate, and then how it works and what a typical day might look like, or the yoga into the work day, into the, the evening events. So yeah, that was a little bit. And there was one other slide that seemed like it was also, there was just a lot going on in it. I'm trying to remember is your business model slide, where it seemed like there was just so much going on in the slide that it was almost distracting. And I think you took up a big chunk of some of the slides with pictures. Those looked really aesthetically great and everything. However, it also made the text pretty small and at times, where really what I want to focus on are your numbers. And so you had your numbers in there, and I didn't really want to be distracted on that slide probably with images. I think there's a place for that more when you're talking about the environment that you're creating and maybe the solution and market and what you're doing. But when we're talking financials, let's dive into the numbers and let's talk about the financials. And that was kind of probably focus on those numbers is what I would suggest. Other than that, one other thing, I don't know if Tim mentioned this when I dropped off here for a second, but you did end with your ask slide. At least I think that we ended with the ask. No, did we have a thank you slide? Okay, Tim would have caught this. So I did like where you had your ask slide there. I thought it was at the end, but I must have missed that. And you had kind of the use of funds and all of that. To George's point, I think you do need to say, this is what we're asking, make that clear on that slide, even though you did talk to it. With that, Tim, I'll let you kind of dive in here.
Okay, yeah. So everyone said all the right things here for feedback, but I'm going to tell you, I think how you can differentiate your problem statement. We all know that there's tons of space available, but there's a really unique opportunity, I think, in this space. And I'm just going to walk you through the Utah ecosystem. So Portal, co-working space, 100% focused on e-commerce, right? So they have a big warehouse, they've got a dock, fully booked within less than a month of e-com places. They have another place in Arizona, and they're building all over the place. There's another group in Utah called Guyver, which is fully focused on like that blue collar worker. So you can store all your stuff, you can keep your truck there, that kind of thing. There is the luxury version, right, which is industrious. Okay. And then you've got kind of like, in Utah, there's a place called Work Hive, which is fully focused on like, I would say SMBs, entrepreneurs. It's relatively inexpensive, mostly co-working. And this is all important. And then there's a group called Kiln and Spaces are really more focused on, they want bigger organizations to bring their entire team in and take up a bunch of space. Where I think, which I love what you're doing, because I'm still at Spaces. So if a concert was going on here, that would not be good for me, right? But it works really, really perfect for this 8 to 5 person who's just coming in, trying to do, and I think that's really important. It's mostly single user, right? Maybe 2 people, but probably a single user. And then it's this 8 to 5, they're coming, getting their work done, and they're going home. I got that personally, but I think that needs to be said as the problem statement. And I believe 100% that's one huge market opportunity in co-working right now. Mm-hmm. I would be a subscriber 100%. Well, maybe not, because I do work late, but so with that, I think that's how you can help with the problem statement, if that's where you're going, and I think that is where you're going. I would also recommend slide order. I really love when numbers are all together. Jeff kind of alluded to that. Like, tell me how you make money, show me the forecast in the market. Those 3 slides just naturally go together from a communication point of view. You had them, it was easy to hear them, but I recommend just kind of keeping them all together. And that order works really, really well. How it works, I would love to see what a modular thing looks like. Right? I want to know what an office looks like. And then, if maybe it's not built yet, but like Jeff mentioned, here's what our place looks like. Here's a design in the morning. And then you can just be a top-down view. What it looks like in the middle of the day, and then how we completely change that. So because I've run this, I've done this before when I ran the mill, which is 100% focused on entrepreneurs and early stage startups. Like, we were constantly moving our place around and, bringing chairs in and out. So it's kind of annoying, but required for the space. And there's lots of competition in this event space, especially hyper local. Like, Jeff, you're at the Kiln probably 8 days a week, it seems like, right? Like, they're just constantly running these hyper local events, and Church and State in Utah, and not so much anymore, but Impact Hub was really involved in that and stuff. clearly I know a lot about this space. So I put I kind of felt like the deck took us a little bit too far into the future with the franchising and all that stuff. I love that idea, but I think I would have loved to focus on the next 3 years, like hyper focus on the next 3 years. And again, this is just nitpicky detail from the deck itself. I think the competitor breakdown would make more sense if we kind of hyper focused it on the different use cases of co-working and why they're shifting. But yeah, I gotta say, I do love everything you said. I think that will really make this deck polished, though, and I think it's what you're saying anyway. So yeah, so that's my feedback. Any other feedback before we go on to the final question?
I was going to mention one of the things that Tim said was where you got into talking about the use cases of the concerts at the end and that. I thought the same thing. I'm like, okay, this isn't for everybody. And so it did bring up a little bit of concern in my mind of going, okay, if you're going to use this for concerts, what about those people that want to work late? Or what about those people that want to come in early and you've got a gym? And I wasn't totally clear on, are those going to be separated? Or is there going to be a concert going while I'm like on a phone call? So some of those things were concerns to me that I don't know, that you address necessarily. But maybe what Tim mentioned in terms of saying this is who it's for, maybe that helps it and says this is for people that want 8 to 5, and then it's they're out of there. Just maybe need to be a little bit clear on that if that's the case.
Yeah, I would also say too something that Jeff brought up, which I would just wanted to echo again and forgot to mention, was just that story or analogy of kind of putting me in the shoes of somebody that's like kind of your ICP, like your customer persona, right? Like putting me in their shoes and kind of walking me through a 10 to 30 second story of why I'm struggling with these pain points and how you guys are solving them for me would have like kind of transformed, right, how I kind of viewed this whole thing, and kind of just maybe given me an analogy. And as like an entrepreneur, right, like, or a previous entrepreneur, current, whatever it may be, like I know if a concert, and I know that was kind of one of the customer demographics was like kind of who you guys are going on. Mm-hmm. If a concert happened at 6 p.m., I'd be like, I'm working till midnight. I'd be like, what the heck's going on? So I think maybe just kind of honing those in a little bit more, and then just kind of seeing how far you can go with that. So, but great presentation, really, you did great.
Thank you all for that feedback. Very
absolutely. All right, this comes down to the final question. So based off of what we heard today, no previous relationships, nothing. George, would you move this company to due diligence?
Personally, just because of my knowledge in the space, and I think it's just got to be a little bit more fine-tuned with ICPs. I would not personally, even though I like the idea and the concept. I think kind of finding that PMF for the next like year is like would be probably a time I'd take another look.
Yeah, and I think I'd concur there that probably a little early on the PMF. I would like to see more adoption there, and you've got one space. Move it to. I think the real opportunity is in that franchising or getting to that point. I'm not 100% that's going to work. Right. I want to see somebody that's actually bought on and they're going to be doing that. I think where I would be is it's something interesting enough to me where I'm like, keep me posted. This is interesting. I'd like to follow this and keep it going. But it's probably, I hate to say it, it's too early for me, or it's probably just not quite there yet for me.
Yeah, so I don't have a yes or a no. I'm super interested in what you're doing personally. So I literally just had this conversation with somebody the other day. So this would be one of those ones for me that I would really like to be in follow along. A couple things. PMF is product market fit. And what was the other acronym you used? Just want to make me explain.
ICP,
which is
ideal customer persona.
Yeah, there you go. Just so for everybody out there. But yeah, so I don't know if it's early or not for me because I'm actually very interested in this space. If you can, and I could introduce you to a person who ran Portal who uses a very similar business model. I actually think this is a business model innovation, not necessarily a product innovation. And I think to Jeff's point and George's point, we need to see that working. And I have seen it work, and it's working really, really well in a basically comparable industry. So I'm pretty convinced that it will work, especially if you got that B2B play where it's $50 a month for, a Salesforce person. That's their per user per month model, or somehow that works out. I kind of feel like that's the future in some ways. But yeah, anyways, I think we have to prove that out, and I don't know if that's going to happen in the next year, maybe two. But I'd like to really follow on. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you yet, but I'm interested. So with that, thanks everybody for being here. George, thanks for being our celebrity guest from Forecaster. If you guys need help, please check out Forecaster. They have one of the best tools for getting entrepreneurs started, getting their financials in place. And then really, really, really check out the book, and don't use thank you slides. That's my final thing. Just end with the ask. And we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. Great job.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.